I always have said we live in a belief driven world. There's beliefs around diet, there's beliefs about family, there's beliefs around work, there's beliefs in law, there's beliefs in the government, there's beliefs everywhere. We live in a belief driven world. I think it's so important for us to know that. And that's not a mundane thing. That is actually a recognition of power because once you realize that, your whole life can actually change. So today's episode is whatever you believe inside molds your entire life that you experience. So I'm Mario Leone. Welcome to the Voices of Victory channel. Make sure you click the Patreon link below so we could grow together on this channel. We're going to talk about beliefs because whatever you believe inside you is shaping the life that you actually experience. Let's get real here. Let's get very direct. So a belief doesn't just usually become a whisper in your ear by itself. It doesn't happen that way. It starts as a very small pattern that you run and it grows into causation. And I call this the chain of causation. It's like something running in the background of your mind. So you may not always recognize it when it's there, but it's actually there. It's inside there. And it's shaping how your situations are actually perceived before anything is even responded to. Because everyone has a mental recipe, a schema, and belief and meaning is right behind it all. Now, that being said, we have to take a good hard look. We have to look at some point how certain things actually get absorbed into the mind because you become what you absorb. It's plain and simple. You become what you repeat. It's not that you have a pattern, you are a pattern. Life is patterns. Look at the cycles of nature, for example. And let all of that be understood because a lot of these patterns, experiences, and repetitions, they settle into your mind, your heart, and of course, most of all, your nervous system. So it can come from experiences and the repetition that you actually have. Maybe even something that someone said to you long ago. It's not a sharp statement, but it's something that feels very comfortable to you. So guess what? It becomes something that we don't question the same way that we once did. And that's where the process actually begins for us. So once a belief is actually present and it's in your identity, perception starts to form around it. And you might actually seek out some supporting reasons, things that support a given concept or idea. So then what happens is you create the mental recipe of life. That is created at that point. You observe certain patterns, and then at that point, you start to interpret situations through an internal lens, and guess what? It's already been molded. It's already been decided at that point. So we've seen it before. We've seen two people go through life, same environment, same education, same upbringing, same everything, and still have different experiences of what's happening. Interesting, right? It's not necessarily because of the situation, although some people may attribute it to that. It's because what is being processed internally is not the same. Even though everything is externally processed, internally it may not be. So that being said, when we tend to look at our experiences, they're important because they create new patterns. And those patterns start to mold into something unique. That's where all of the responses begin to form. So you speak in a certain way without planning it. You hesitate in places that you're familiar and comfortable. Or we move towards certain choices and away from others. These responses, they begin to repeat. And guess what? What we experience externally begins to take on a recognizable pattern. We start to see it right in front of our eyes. It's not because of the environment itself. It's not that. It's not the environment is fixed. It is because the interaction with what's happening is through the same exact internal structure, even though two people have had the same exact experience. Interesting, right? So we start to look at our life as the cycles. They keep repeating. That's what happens. because you're going to observe things externally in your life. And that is actually going to totally shape how you look at life internally. And that very shaping is going to influence how you respond to things. And that response actually shapes what gets experienced next. And then the cycle keeps going. So for a lot of people, it doesn't look like a cycle. It doesn't look like that to them. It just feels like a consistent experience that's just happening. It's on autopilot for some people. So we got to be able to interrupt some of the patterns, because we are patterns. You become what you absorb. So there are moments where the pattern doesn't fully run its usual course. It deviates. It goes off track. Maybe you observe it in some way, something unfamiliar appears, or maybe a different response that you didn't see before. Or maybe the way you interpreted it is not exactly the same. It doesn't fully take hold in your mind. So at that moment, then all of your cycles that are going on are not so automatic the moment you stop and you pause and you take a deep breath. It's because the sequence itself doesn't always have to complete itself in some way. It is a cycle. A cycle is a wheel, and once you stop the wheel from moving by inserting something different, it goes from there. So over time, whatever you hold inside you internally is going to shape your life. It's going to shape your life experiences. And external things that happen, those external experiences are also going to help you respond. So you could see it like this. Belief will move into perception. Perception influences response, and response influences your very experience. That's how we can understand reality. And experience continues to feedback into what's actually held inside of the mind. And those memories, of course. So it's not an obvious thing. It doesn't always happen, but it does stretch across time, and the pattern does show up and become very visible. And once you observe it, though, you can stop the wheel, and then life is no longer just happening. It begins to turn the wheel in a different direction based on what we interpreted, based on new knowledge of what's inside of us. That's all I'm going to say. Have a great day. I'll catch you on the next episode. Don't forget to click the link below so you can go to my Patreon and my page. Have a great day. Take care.